Trained by day, Kyle Wigginton podcast by night, all day.
Hunter McHugh. McHugh. Hunter McHugh. What's up, my dude?
Not much, man. Glad you had me out here.
Hell yeah, man. We had a great little event the other night.
Yeah.
How'd you put that together?
Well, I guess 4 or 5 years ago now, whenever I was starting up in the business, I was doing a lot of PA work, and I got to a point where I was starting to get so many calls that I couldn't take on all the work, but I didn't want to let the potential connection to the industry go. So I started with all my favorite people around the city that were working and had a text chain together, and that didn't work. Text chain was no good. So we went over to Facebook and we made the NOLA PA list, which has since then become the biggest staffing for the film industry in Louisiana, maybe in the Southeast, you know. You know, a lot of people can get their first foot in the door from our group. Since COVID kind of is all moving on, hopefully, knocking on wood, we have started doing in-person events, and you know, I'm trying to find places that may not necessarily have film industry or considered like a film industry bar or something like that. And just to get people out and about and try and bring us together and stay connected and make sure that we know who each other are, in case it's better to have an in-person connection than to just know somebody through their resume or, you know, through email or Facebook Messenger or one of those things, you know. So
yeah, no, I completely agree. It was a great meetup the other night. You didn't just have PAs here; you actually had other people that were working in the industry. So it was a great networking opportunity.
Oh yeah, a lot of the people that started in that group were, you know, on the verge of becoming our you know, the next people that were in charge of the industry. So it kind of built out like that. So even though it's called the NOLA PA list, it's actually all different departments. Just kind of a good way to get to where you want to go, because I think as a PA, you know, you might not know exactly what track you're on until you get to try some different departments out and see where you want to be, you know? So.
Yeah. How did you get into the casting side of things? Because this is On the Hunt casting here.
That's right. Well, I kind of was, basically what had happened was I came down here after college, and you know, I'm from Louisiana, so it was not hard for me to find my way in. But I started as an actor and started doing a lot of auditions, and you know, every time I'd go into the casting room, and I was very lucky to get in the door with a lot of the great casting directors around here. I eventually just kept realizing I was getting distracted, not by the other actors whenever I was in the waiting room, you know, but, you know, I just really was interested in what the person behind the camera was doing, you know, not the director, not the producers, just interested in what casting was doing. And it just seemed a very good blend of administrative meets creative. And so I kind of, you know, and then one thing led to another. I did a commercial where I was the casting PA for a company, which led to many more opportunities with them as their assistant in New Orleans. And, you know, we kept getting jobs, but since they were based in several different markets other than us, you know, they would only come down here very rarely or whenever, you know, it was something worth their time to come. So as they started getting bigger and getting jobs elsewhere, well, what did that leave? It left all the local clients here to calling me. And, you know, by that time, whenever I started getting these calls, I was working, I went from background, and then I went to PA, and then I eventually found my like kind of niche on set, which was an assistant to producers and directors and actors. But even though that, you know, some of that was very strenuous, it always left open the door for me to take on a bank commercial here, you know, whatever. So some small spot on the side. And one thing led to another. I ended up working with Happy Madison, and shout out to Barry Bernardi, who's Adam's line producer. He kind of caught wind of while I was working with him that I was also casting. And he's like, "You're doing all this while you're working for me?" And like, you know, it was very impressive to him, because he was like, "Oh, you never dropped the ball with me, and you're still taking on jobs on your own." He said, "Never do this again. Just go do that." And he was more than right. And, it kind of kept building. And now I kind of found, not just New Orleans. I'll cast a lot in Dallas. I've been getting a lot in Florida and Mississippi, anywhere they need me. I'm down to make it happen, because a lot of these jobs, they're starting to have the opportunity because probably because of COVID, but where we have just like opened up the doors to other markets that can have the availability to work local in New Orleans, or work local in Dallas, or whatever. And what that has led to is to a lot of the production companies actually opening it up to not just them having to work as a local hire, but they can work as a distant hire, and we'll cover housing and travel and per diem and all that jazz, which it's starting to become more of a thing. And it's very exciting, because I don't think actors should have to travel themselves out when, it's not that much more to put them up and to travel them. It really isn't, if planned correctly. Now, if it's last minute, of course, but, or if there's some big event going on in New Orleans, or which has happened before too. But opening up that to those different markets is like, has me knowing actors all over the country, agents all over the country, specifically Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago, and a lot in Atlanta. But we'll travel people out and get them in there and get and it always feels like a major win to me whenever we have a local beat out everybody else in the country for the role, which has happened more than enough times. It's just exciting. I do believe that New Orleans has some of the strongest actors in the country because of their exposure to feature film and television. And they just understand just keeping it very simple and rooted and grounded, and not trying to go to this, especially for the commercials, to this like very commercial space. And like that it's something that is almost not learned. It's something that's just natural, like of them being able to tap into that market. Whereas, some commercials are very over the top because it's very comedic, and that's a lot what I get, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the comedy always has to be in that. It can be there can be a very natural, grounded version of it.
Well, I think people in New Orleans have personality.
Oh God.
And that comes through in a lot of the auditions that you probably see down here. Whereas other places, I think a lot of people are very vapid in other places. Yeah. They're industry people.
Yeah.
No offense.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And, but with that being said, there's some things about them that are better, but maybe not better is the word, but sharper. Like, right. Here's the craziest thing is like the camera setups, the lighting. It is almost like people are shooting in 4K.
Oh yeah.
And they just look beautiful in these auditions.
That's where we shoot on iPhones and shit down here.
And a lot down here too. And there's, shout out to the Actors Apothecary, and there's some really good taping services that just, they can make you just pop. So it's becoming a very challenging world for casting, I think, because now it's a matter of like, we have to really know what we're looking for, or at least hope that we know what we're looking for to get closer to what the production wants.
Yeah.
Which in the beginning stages, we can be on 3 different pages.
So let me ask you a hot take here. If someone does film with an iPhone and then someone does film super professional, are you gonna like bypass one for the other, or do you like kind of know the look that you're going for when you're looking for the actor, or like?
I think it kind of matters mostly like what we're casting for. I mean,
Right.
it's tough. It's tougher to have, wonky quality for a commercial because, they got an ad agency, a client, and they don't really understand. I mean, I'm sure they cast commercials all the time, but it's like they don't really understand what they're exactly looking at. So anything that's kind of off-putting could come as a red flag. Whereas I feel like for the movies, some of my favorite actors, they might not have, local actors, they might not have the best setup, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter. When they get in front of that camera, they know what to do with it. So it's, and I mean, it's happened with commercials too. It's just, you want to get as close as uniform as possible. And without like completely overthinking it and doing so many takes that, you just kind of, it's sometimes it's almost like the actors I feel might be wasting their time because they're just shooting into the dark and hoping for something to stick. But whereas you don't really need to do that. I mean, you can 1 to 2 to 3 takes is enough for us to know if we want to bring you to callbacks.
Yeah, if it's right or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done some casting for like the short films and things that we do before, and it's kind of the same way. Like you kind of know whenever you see, you're like, yeah, this could work.
Like it's like a ballpark. It's like, oh, there's a flavor of that role that I didn't think about. That's exactly what I was thinking. And then, well, that's the crazy version, but it could also do a justice to the project as well. Mm-hmm. So, the good part about that is, there's a lot of chance to get the role.
Yeah. That's for me these days. I tend not to overthink auditioning.
Right.
I just kind of go in and have fun with it.
That's the best thing you could do.
Yeah. Andrew Goody, he and I work a lot with our auditions together. He'll come over to the lofts and I'll film his and he'll film mine. And we just gotta have fun with it, man. Cause like you're I would say 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to get the part, so you might as well just have a good time.
Yeah.
And so we try to have as much fun as we can. Like we play around with the lines. Every now and then I'll take another line.
Yeah.
The last audition I did, I was like, dude, I think my character should say this line too. He's like, that's totally not, you shouldn't do that. And I was like, we're going to do it anyway. I'm already not cast. What are they going to do? Not cast?
What are they going to do? Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. It's like, you never know. But something that could be very telling for actors is like, how much is the project paying? Then you kind of like start to think like, oh, there's probably a lot of people. I mean, the one I'm just doing right now is I got 3,500 submissions per role.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like, how do you even dig through those? Like what?
I mean, it's just, so you look at so this is a commercial, like for the commercial, the nice thing about it, and I mean, I guess it would be the same with kind of feature film, is like, you look at like what the people that are making the creative decisions have done before. Uh-huh. So like for a brand, look at their old commercials and in this case, luckily I've cast their last 4 projects. So I kind of know that what they're looking for that. So that kind of helps. But I mean, at that point, I had this conversation on Friday. I called up the director. I said, hey, I said, look, I got this many submissions per role. And, like, let's just talk about it. Like, what do you think? Is there actors that we know and love that you kind of see as that role? Is there characters? The funny one, he didn't get the reference, but I was thinking of Pam from Smart House for the female lead, where it's like could be completely terrifying, but also like super endearing. Things like that help me. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people just in film in general we watch a lot of movies, so it's easier for us to get the lingo, or if there's something I haven't seen that he's like, oh, it's a little bit more like this character, I can go look up some YouTube videos on that and just kind of get the vibe. But I mean, even still, like even with this, like the script we get and, you know, the breakdown we kind of make, you kind of have an idea of what it definitely isn't. I mean, there's at least that, you know, but yeah, you know, I mean, 3,500, that's a lot, you know,
a lot.
But yeah, no, I mean, you kind of just, the coolest thing about my department is you become very quick to make decisions, and you respect the fact that you made that decision. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're like, I mean, no one else is here to be like over my shoulder being like, Hunter, you know, blah, 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 you know, but, and sometimes I'll reach out to actors and be like, will you watch this tape real quick and tell me what you think about it? And they know nothing about the project, and I just get their feedback. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's like, you just kind of trust in your instincts, but the instincts is what has led me to where I am now. So something's right about it, you know? Yeah.
I think that's an ability that more people need to have these days, is the ability to make those decisions and make them quick. Like, that's something that I found that's helped me out a lot in life too, is to make a decision and stick with it.
Right.
And go, I made this for this reason. You know, if there is someone that wants to come along and try to talk me out of that, then we'll have a conversation about it. But right now we're going this direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's cool. And if somebody disagrees with you, I mean, that's totally fine. Maybe I'm just not on the same page, but you know,
that's filmmaking. Filmmaking is a collaborative effort. Definitely. So you have to be able to collaborate. I think one of the last projects that we did, and I was a producer on it, it was a comedic sketch, and I'd worked on it for weeks up to that point, like trying to plan it out and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we got on set that day, and people were trying to correct me on set the day of. And I was like, hey, if you didn't come to any of the meetings that we were having to plan this thing out, then you have no say right now.
There's a reason we're doing what we're doing, you know?
Everybody was invited to those meetings, and people just didn't want to show up, but they had an opinion day of. And I was like, it's already been planned. We're going this direction. Yeah. And, you know, it's all been planned for this direction.
Right. My biggest thing with, like, in the same vein is when I get clients or just, it tends to happen with, like, the more green filmmakers, I guess, but where they'll just, like, sit on a casting, and we'll be down to our, like, top 20 at that point or whatever. And they'll just sit and wait. And I'm like, yo, you guys shoot on Sunday. Like, you know, this isn't renting gear. Mm-hmm. You're using a human being that has a life, that has who knows what planned, and that they're going to give up to come for us. And I mean, I guess I just have a lot of respect for actors, but I don't like putting them in the situation where, you know, it could just be like, you know, at a certain point, you're just like, look, you know, if we don't make a decision by X amount of time, like, I cannot continue to hold the availability of the artist. Like, it's not fair. I mean, they need to know at least 24 in advance that they're traveling outside the state in which they live to come do something, you know,
preferably more than that. Yeah. So do you think that you have the respect for actors that you have because you once were an actor and you also live with Tevin?
Yeah. I mean, that could definitely be it. But, you know, and especially, like, kind of goes hand in hand with, like, Nola Piela's stuff is, like, you know, getting out and being around actors and being a part of workshops and going to acting classes. You get to hear them voice the concerns and their opinions on what they think about the way in which casting is right now. You know, I find a lot of actors are probably not very happy with all the at-home taping, and they would rather do it in person. But I think what I would say about that is, you know, the taping allows for endless possibilities for you as an artist, because you could be auditioning for something in Utah, you know, New Orleans, New York, Miami. I mean, no, you know, depending on what the project is and whether or not you're willing to work local or if they're paying for you to come, it's it just opens up the doors a lot. I mean, I wish we could have callbacks in person more, just because it's so cool to get to meet somebody that you've been fighting for, whether they think it or not, but we've been fighting for a couple of weeks, and for them to finally get a callback, it always feels like a win. Callback's probably my favorite part of the process. And we've come mighty close to mocking what it was like in person. Shout out to Hey Joe, this awesome platform, which is a virtual casting space similar to Zoom, but literally curated for casting sessions. And, in this type of environment, you will be able to meet with the actor in the waiting room before bringing them in front of the client.
That's cool.
Which back in the day, we used to do all the time. Like, we'll just, all right, hey guys, I'm going to talk to the next actor. Just go outside and talk to him. But that, and then also the waiting room allows for actors to get to hang out with each other before they do it, which I think that part of it is pretty vital too, in a weird way. Not that it should be distracting like it felt like when I was doing it, that to have a bunch of intense people like that look just like you going for the role.
Yeah.
But that I just think there's some like camaraderie there, loosens up the nerves a little bit. I don't know. It's something.
I actually like, I like the tape casting, taping casting, or taping auditions, I should say. Because I'm a very busy person.
Yeah.
So going to a place and like sitting down and waiting for the audition is tough. When I can just call my buddy up and say, hey dude, come help me do this audition. Yeah. We knock it out in an afternoon. I edit it, throw it on the website and send it away. Yeah. I think it streamlines the process. I do see that there are some people that would rather be in person. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. For me, it works.
Yeah, it works. And the other thing is like for callback purposes, well, even for the first audition, back when we used to do it all the time, I'd be running the room for the casting director, and you would be on the first round of auditions, and you'd like talk to these actors, and they're coming from like Jacksonville, Florida, and Miami, and Dallas, Texas. I'm like, for the first round, you don't even know if this is going to work.
I've done that before.
I mean, I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have, but it's just, it's a tricky thing to do, but if you got the Zoom or whatever, then if we're running behind, at least we can let you know. So it's a little bit less on wasting your time. Yeah. Or some actors have been able to do it right from their work. Just, walk to the meeting, their little, lunch break room and just get on and get off, because the truth of the matter is most callbacks are like, for commercials anyways, are like 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah. So driving 2 hours to go
for 3 minutes, kind of
a little crazy.
That's
why I said it works for me. It's very streamlined. Whenever I first started acting, I remember one time I was living in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I drove all the way to Canton, Mississippi for a casting. So it's like
booked it, right?
No, didn't book it. That's what was bad about it. But I met, some of the people there, the casting directors and stuff.
See, that can be worth it too.
Yeah, it was worth, because like later on down the road, they did call me and they booked me on something a while back. Yeah. So that was nice. So we got to actually meet them. And I think whenever I rebooked with them, I was living in New Orleans at the time. Mm-hmm. So they were casting stuff down here and they realized that I'd moved. Yeah. So we kind of stayed in contact.
I mean, it's starting to think, I think, well, at least for commercials, I think it's starting to become more normal that a casting director might not just be in New Orleans. They might be casting multiple places. I mean, the truth of the matter is it's all about the connection to the producer and the director. Mm-hmm. If they want us on their project, they want us because they like the way we work with them and the way we collaborate with their projects. So why would they hire anyone else? I mean, working relationships, like that's a huge part of this business. Yeah. Even when we do our films, we have a set group of people that we know that we can work with. So we all come together and we make it happen. It's hard to introduce new people to a cohesive group that's actually like a
made
system that works.
Yeah, the system that works. Yeah. So that's what we have right now. We have a nice group of people that we're making films with. And that's awesome. Yeah, the last one that we did, it was 48, but we won like 7 or 8 awards. Yeah, we cleaned up on that one. Getting ready for the Louisiana Film Prize.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun one.
This weekend, next weekend?
No, well, we're getting ready for the next one. To film the next year's. So we're kind of planning what we're doing right now and stuff. Yeah. So we'll see.
I just never understood why it's in Shreveport.
No, that's a weird one for me too. Yeah, I don't get it either. They were doing where you could do online submissions.
Oh, cool.
Remote submissions. I don't know if they have
But you
that
have to film in Shreveport, right?
I don't. They weren't doing that during the COVID thing. Like they still wanted to run it, so they were just allowing submissions online. They might have changed that now because the COVID's not a real big scare anymore. But we'll kind of see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot better than having only 48 hours to film a movie, I mean,
the reason I like the 48-hour film is because it forces you to get one done.
Yeah. Well,
so
100%.
So it you bring out all your tools and you have 48 hours and it's like, okay. Because, sometimes, I've been guilty of this before where we'll film something and then I'll sit on the footage for a month before I actually start editing it.
Yeah.
Where it's nice to have that deadline where you're like, okay, we got to do this, got to get it done.
That's why I tell actors to look at all the amazing colleges around because if they don't get their film in, they don't get the grade.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
that's where I got all my real footage when I first started out.
Me too.
Yeah. That's how I met Hunter. We were filming a movie called Beg.
Yeah.
It's the first one I directed and wrote. And we got connected and I was like, I need an actor to be in this. And you happened to be available for that day. That's how we connected.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. I need to get on. Most of the things I'm directing now, it's not stuff that I've written. I need to get back on some stuff that I've wrote because it's a different ball game when you're with someone else's work. It's a good like I guess it's a good skill to have to be able to take someone else's work and make something out of it.
Right.
But at the same time, it's just my heart's not connected to all of it the way it would be if I wrote something.
No. Yeah. And it's just, the nice thing about writer directors too, is that you guys can figure out the way to justify cutting or making something on the day, making something work in a different way because you know the story so well. I would say the same goes with like editor directors. They know what they're editing it in their mind as they're filming it. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think that's awesome. Or, maybe if you don't want to direct and have a director and just do the writing part and produce the part, that's helpful too.
Yeah, no, it's cool to be with the group that I'm with right now because I do have the opportunity to do anything that I want to. Because I mean, one of the guys that normally directs the stuff that we're doing, because I act in a lot of the work that we do on that side of things. He is a director, but he's also a cinematographer. Like we all have like multiple skill sets that we can do on day of, which I also edit VFX. So, I mean, if I need to step in and be like, I think we should do it this way. Like we just have so many skill sets that we can draw from in different projects.
It's the best.
Yeah. So it's fun to show up on set and just be an actor.
Yeah.
And like know that everyone else has your back. Like they're going to be doing the best they can and not have to worry about anything else. I just show up and I say my lines and emote correctly.
I have a buddy, Jason, who was here at the PA meeting, and he comes from doing like production design and stuff. So, but then he went off to be now he's an actor. And anytime he gets on set, it's so funny. He'll be like texting me, being like, and the art department isn't doing this, that, and the other. I'm like, Jason, it's not your job anymore. You don't have to worry about any of that,
I'm guilty of the same thing, dude.
It's not, yeah.
No, it's you just have, you develop an eye for it. There was a guy that I bumped into a long time ago when I was bartending on Bourbon Street. And he was asking me what I want to do in film. And I was like, I think I want to direct. And he's like, if you want to direct, you can learn how to do everything.
Yeah.
That way, you know when something goes wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of my whole take with learning all the skills that I have. But it's still nice just to revert back and just be an actor for a bit. Do you ever like miss it?
No, I don't. I just, I because I feel like even in, I don't know what other casting directors are like, but I freaking watch every tape. I really do. And because I think for a moment, I feel like I'm connecting with an actor. I mean, we're not in the same room, but it feels like I'm acting, in a different way. And I'm satisfied with that, especially with callbacks. It's like, a lot of times with the big brands, it's not the director running the session. It's me, giving direction and telling them what to do. And the best part is, coming from the acting world, I just speak actor.
You know how to speak to them.
They some directors and producers I know what they're trying to tell them, but they're just not saying it in an actory way, you know? Giving a line reading isn't necessarily the best way to be like, hey, Kyle, can you do it this way? Say it just like as like, I go immediately to like as ifs or thinking of, again, like other actors in other situations on movies or television that can help them get there, or just in sometimes in like life situations. Sometimes like one was I was like, you just touched a really hot skillet on accident, that and it might not have anything to do with the ouch of it all, but there's something similar that they can relate to help get them there a little bit,
to get that emotion out.
Yeah.
So this is another cool thing about working with people for a long time. Like I've been working with Jared, who's the director that I was talking about, for a long time now. And there are occasions on set where I'm not giving him what he wants. And I'm like, he doesn't like to give line readings either, but I'm like, dude, give me a line reading.
Oh, and I mean, some actors that will work. But
it's not an ego thing for me anymore. I'm just kind of like, dude, let's get the project done right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
but then that's a little bit more of your directing side. Cause if you hear him say it the way he's saying it, you'll figure out the way to justify to make it right. Yeah. But some actors, they just, they would be like, why,
Yeah. That's another reason that I think this is a very cool medium to work in, is because every project you do is going to be unique. Every person you work with is going to be unique in their style that they bring to set.
Yeah.
So you have to almost figure out a way to manipulate's a bad word, but work with these people and with their own styles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes with experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a director come up to me one time, and it was a very emotional scene. Like I had to cry in this scene. And she walked up to me right before the take, like I was in the zone, and she puts a handful of wedding rings in my hand and just walks away. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, that was just confusing to me. I was like, I'm in the zone to do the scene. You bring these wedding rings to me. I just set them down and went out there and did the scene. I was like, I didn't get it. And after it was over, she's like, I just wanted to try something. And I'm like, okay, thanks a lot for that.
Yeah.
But no, it's a cool medium. I like film. What else you got going on, man?
Just,
I mean, obviously you're busy with looking at 3,500 audition tapes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to get that all squared away. I got something coming up in Austin, and then maybe a movie, in Mississippi. And I'm just hoping that the studios and the actors figure something out.
What is your take on that? Do you have a take on that?
I mean, not really. I mean, the take I have is that I think people maybe it took till now to get it to where we're all on the same page, but look, we all got to make a living here. And, the one thing the studios might not have thought about in this whole equation is you never paid actors enough to begin with. So most of them have a normal job.
Yeah.
So they can hold out on you, but
that's a good point, actually.
Yeah. I think like bottom line is like, we all need to make enough to live. And if that's not happening, well, we got to restructure. And, a lot of people are probably against the commercials coming back into streaming, but I'm kind of sitting there like, please, more jobs for me, please. Right. I never minded commercials in anything I'm watching. I don't know where that became such a big deal or distraction or whatever. I mean, it's like, it gives a chance, like on it, let's just say like TV or whatever. But it's like, it gives you a chance to kind of like get out of the whole picture and just kind of like,
But wasn't it the point of streaming sites though, to get away from commercials?
No, that's what I'm saying. But like what I'm saying is like, when you have a commercial pop up in the middle of something you're watching, it kind of gives you a break, like a mental checkout. And I always enjoyed that, but maybe not all people did. I mean, then again, I love watching commercials. I think they're very witty sometimes, and I think there are
some good ones.
They're pretty good, and like my favorites are like, when it comes around to the Super Bowl or
those are the best.
It's just they come up with some really good stuff.
Dude, the Budweiser commercials, I used to eat those up every year.
Yeah, they're great. Mm-hmm. They're great. Doritos.
Yeah. No, there's some good stuff out there.
Any of Geico, any of that.
I haven't heard this yet. They're bringing commercials back to streaming sites. I didn't know they were doing this.
They already have
really?
on Amazon Prime. There'll be basically two layers. There'll be you can pay for no commercials. Or
Hulu has this too. Hulu, I think I pay for the one that doesn't have commercials.
Yeah. Well, come on.
I'm a sucker.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still showing the commercials, but
No, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But I think, I just think there's a lot to be said about how television was and how streaming is now. And we just kind of need to figure out the best way forward. And stop. And nobody needs to get all mad at each other. Just come down, make a deal, and let's get back to work.
So when it comes to the writers, they're already done with that one, right?
They're good to go. And hopefully, obviously I don't know this, and I will say I don't know anything about anything, but hopefully the writers are starting to get hired on for some of the shows that were ready to go, so that whenever everything kind of goes through with the SAG strike, then maybe we'll all have a bunch of stuff ready to go. You know?
I think so, man. I think there's been a kind of a pullback right now with everything that's being done, which is good for the people that do indie movies. I mean, they're still doing their productions. Like we have one right now that we're working on that I'm sure, because nothing's been produced in a while, that as soon as we get it finished, it's probably going to just fly on the shelf, off the shelf. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think there's such a pullback right now that as soon as the SAG strike does get figured out, it's just going to be work for days. Well,
all we can hope is that, yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I think what people that work in film, the film industry, just kind of need to realize, we're always going to be up against two things, because we have such strong unions, strikes are going to happen. Because of the tax incentives, that would be us against the politicians sometimes. It's just kind of the way it is. And it's unfortunate too, because I would think without a doubt in my mind that we are one of the most profitable industries in the country, if not the world. And we are probably one of the only exports that the U.S. has to get, money back to us. Because I'll tell you what, international sales is insane. Yeah. They love our movies.
Yeah, well, even the stuff that we're importing now, there's a lot of stuff that's being produced overseas that we're bringing in.
Korean.
Yeah, great films.
Oh man, I love it. I think it's great.
That's another reason we pick up our game and get back to it, because we're still bringing in films. It's just not American-made films.
Not right now. And a lot of reality TV, and I'm okay with reality TV. I like it a lot, but I don't think that needs to be the forefront maybe it does. I don't know. Seems like a lot of studios are going in that reality realm a little bit more. Well, especially with what's going on right now. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Hunter, where can the people find you at?
I am on all the social medias on the Hunt Casting, and and if you're an actor, I post mostly to Actors Access and Casting Networks and My Casting File. Shout out My Casting File. Yeah.
And then come to NOLA PA list meetups. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're on that side of things, NOLA PA list on Facebook, and hopefully we'll have more events. And we're opening up our events to just anybody. You don't have to be a member, but we hope that you're a part of the film community.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for coming in, brother.